Hello, my friends. If you ever wondered about the validity of the story of Genesis, the story of creation as told in Genesis, if does it match science or not? Is it a true story or not? Well, then this movie is for you. In this video, we are going to compare what science says to what Moses is saying, head by head. For the reference for science, we will take or we will use the History Channel video that was published a few years ago, which summarizes everything we know from science about the history of our planet. It uses all the information from geology, biology, astronomy, you name it. Wonderful movie, very well done, and you can watch it in full in a library or borrow it or purchase it. Here we are using only clips of that or some shots of that movie in order to avoid copyright issues. So we will compare head by head Moses' story to science. And I will leave it in your hands to decide, are these two stories compatible? Do they match or not? You will make the decision. So let us start with the video, History Channel video. So this video, how the earth was made, begins with a very important declaration. Let's watch it. Here is a declaration made by the History Channel people that until now, all the knowledge came from the book of Genesis. That the earth is 5,000 years old, made in 1 week. But from now on, we're going to present the true story. So here we are. People are reading the Bible, and they show that the world is only 5,000 years old. That declaration is important because it shows that the movie or the video movie made by the History Channel is unbiased, absolutely non-compatible in their eyes with what science is, what the Bible is saying. So there are two independent narratives. They are not influenced by one by other. This is very important for us as we compare the two stories. Now, if it just happened that what they say is compatible with what Moses is saying, somehow, well, the History Channel people will be extremely surprised. So what is the story that they tell? They tell the story of the planet, which was formed 4.5 billion years ago, not 5,000, but 4.5 billion years ago, based on geology and other sort of science. And the Earth was formed by what you see here, bombardment of meteors on streaming lava. So there was a red planet flying in space. That's the first stage of what they're going to present. I want to point out right now that the Moses is talking about 6 days. The History Channel people talk about 6 stages. They are not even thinking about Moses' 6 days. They show the history of the planet as 6 stages. Here is stage 1, the formation of the planet in a solar system by meteors falling and compiling up the globe. So they talk about stages. Moses talk about days. It just happened that Moses talk about 6 days and they talk about 6 stages. If we find correlation between the two, this would be wonderful. As example, this is stage 1, according to the History Channel. Earth is formed. The universe is 13.8 billion years. 13.8. We are talking here about 4.5 billion, not too long ago, relatively, where the globe is identified moving around the sun. The surface of the globe is lava, streaming lava, very hot, incompatible with life. The temperature is about 8,000 Fahrenheit. No life can exist. Here we see the red planet, which they call it red hot globe. And this is stage 1, according to science. From here, we move to stage 2, which the planet is becoming covered by water. So now we have an idea what stage is. According to science, in the History Channel, a stage is identified by a certain temperature, a certain environment, certain creature, something typical for the stage. It starts and it ends. It ends up usually with a catastrophe that brings another stage in Earth history, usually moving up in sophisticated animal. So here we are with the stage 1, lava, and we are moving to stage 2, water. It doesn't matter to us right now how long the stage is. It could be 400 million, it could be less. The number is not important right now. What important is the idea of stage. Long in terms of man, and our life is enormously big, but in terms of the universe, it's nothing, just a stage. So let's see what Moses is saying, or what he calls day 1. What Moses is calling day 1, you know the story. You open your Bible. In the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. Moses mentioned tohu vavohu, chaotic earth. Well, it can fit the lava. And he mentioned the abyss, the deep, the abyss, which can fit space, darkness, there's no atmosphere, and no life in it. That's important. No fish, no water, no animal, no birds, just abyss, light, and it says that Elohim at the end there, Elohim was so it's good because there was day and night. So the earth it was rotating. There was day and night, an important feature for possible life on it. And then Elohim made so it was good. And one day, uh, when Elohim said it was good, it means there was a judgment by the judge. We already know that the judge is very harsh, is a builder, and when he makes a judgment, some of the element he destroys, and he keeps only the elements that are important for the second stage. His criteria is efficiency. He has a goal, and what is not important anymore, he's going to discard as a scaffold. This idea will stay with us for the rest of the story. So here is day one, which can fit what science is saying in stage one. The idea of the idea here that at the end of the day, Elohim made it was evening, it was morning, one day. It doesn't say day one day. So the rabbis many years ago, more than 1,000 years ago, unknown to the public, to Christianity, they wrote that here is a definition of a day of creation. At the time it took from the beginning to see earth with light and day. It could be almost a long time. So the number 5,000 years that usually consider from the time of creation is just from Cain and Abel, chapter 5 or 6 later on. But the story of creation is outside of that number. It could be any number. Now, how long did it take to have one day of creation? How long did it last? The rabbi also dealt with this. And more than 1,000 years, almost 1,000 years ago, they published Kabbalah. Rabbi Abulafia from Italy published it, but he received it as a tradition. That he says the average of a day of creation was 2.1 billion with B, billion years, 2.1 times 6. So the 6 days lasted almost 13 billion years, like science said. The average, so some days were longer, some days were shorter. Anyhow, the number is not important. What's important is the recognition that the day of creation is not our day. A day of creation could last long time, million or billion years. And it's nothing to do with Cain and Abel onward. So far, so good. So we see that what Moses called day one can fit what science says stage one. Let's move on to see if it's still true for day two and stage two. So 4.5 billion years ago, Earth is identified as a globe. As it starts cooling down, water appear on it, changing the atmosphere, changing everything on Earth. Well, but no life yet. Where did the water come from? Here is what science is saying. Some of the water came out, as you see here, from the cooling of the rock. So at the end of the earlier stage, the red hot globe, the globe cooled down, form a crust on it so the water can settle on it. And this condition now, Earth was ready by this change for the water to settle in. Somehow, Earth was passing through an area where water came from, but we'll see in a minute. Some of the water still came down from the crust of Earth. The rocks, as you see here, start cooling down, and they start spitting water into the air. A lot of water came from below, but not enough. Here the scientist standing on a hill, and he's showing us that the water came from above. Much of the water, he says, most of it, the water that is going to cover Earth, creating the vast ocean, came from above. How? We'll see in a minute. It is a marvelous story. Just at that particular point, Earth passed through a certain area in space, which is still identified today, area that is full of huge amount of water in a sex balloon of water, enormously big, meteors that fill that segments of space. Somehow the solar system passed through that space at this particular point, and the water starts falling on Earth. This area is still identified. It carries the name of the scientist or astronomer who actually describe it. Now, water starts falling down on Earth. The water starts falling on Earth. It never stopped. It kept raining and raining and raining for millions of years, creating a vast ocean covering 90% of Earth. Here is the water accumulating. Now Earth is covered by green water. There's no atmosphere. The water are green, not blue. And although there are here and there some islands, as you see here, but those islands were made by soft rock, volcanic rocks. They couldn't stand the water and they dissolved immediately. So after half a billion years, 400 million years after the Earth was identified, Earth is now covered by water, no life on it. It's very hot, toxic water, high pressure, no vegetation, no fish, no worms, no sponges, nothing in the water. No life in it. And no atmosphere, just water. And the water, remind you, came initially from below, from the rock, and then from space, from above. Let's see what Moses is saying about that stage, which the science call the second stage. They call it water world. So the first stage is red hot globe, streaming lava, and now it's covered with water, hot water. The water remains on the surface because there is a crust that keep it from being absorbed. That's the stage we are now. The end of second stage. And let's see what Moses is saying. Here is what Moses says, what he calls day 2. Elohim let the water accumulate from below, underneath, and then the water came from above. That's it. And day 2 was over. Not a word about creature, not a word about vegetation, not a word about the animals, only water from above and water from below. If you're looking for match between science and Moses, here it is. I cannot find a better match than that. Yeah, we'll have more surprises later on. But think about it. Here is Moses living 3,500 years ago. We know where he was raised in Pharaoh's home. We know all the mythical stories that he was taught in Pharaoh's home, which has nothing to do with science, nothing to do with stages of the universe or Earth. All the story he heard is about mythical stories about rivalry between gods, sexual perversion, impregnating, rivalry, slashing bellies, all kind of ugly stories, usually, that the Egyptian told, the Babylonians told, the Indian, the Japanese, all told, all nations, all cultures told such mythical story. Nobody talked about the stage 1 red planet or chaotic planet and stage 2 water. Nobody thought about water without animals in it. Yes, not even the American Indian. No, nobody. So, and Moses himself, until age 18 or so, he grew up in Pharaoh's home. Then he fled for his life. He spent most of his life until age 80 in the desert of Sinai as a shepherd. And then he got revelation. He was sent back to Egypt. I'm asking you, who told him the story? How did he know that story about stage 2? Unless you have to assume that somebody told him that. So he had a revelation. So that's by itself shows there is it's actually proof there is no other explanation, but there is some revelation he had on Sinai, in Sinai desert, that told him the story. Well, we can understand it later on. He got the Torah, and the Torah is written in Torah. So anyhow, so far, an excellent match between what Moses is saying and what science is saying. What Moses is calling it day 2, second day, and science call it stage 2, water world. So we have red planet compared to first day of Moses. We have water world of science that can match Moses' second day. So far, so good. A good surprise. Let's see what science says. Call it stage 3. Stage 3. And what Moses is calling day 3. So what the History Channel is showing you is a formation of a new island formed by new form of rock, the granite. So here the vast sea is going to be divided now with new granite island. As it turned out, at this particular point, under this particular condition, the lava that is streaming into the water can form the granite that I have in my kitchen. It's a smooth stone that can stand water and can form granite island. That, of course, would be very important later on to establish life on it. But that's much later. Right now, we're talking about formation of dry land from granite. That's stage 3. You see here the lava pouring into the water and forming granite. It's still, you can see it's still in several places on Earth, like in the Pacific Ocean. Here, a picture of that, and it's formed granite. Very soon, the granite islands start to get together and form the first supercontinent, bereft of any life on it, no vegetation, of course, no mobile life, no animals, just ocean and dry land from granite. The dry land is going to create the supercontinent Rodinia, which the History Channel talk in detail. We just bring here the point. Let's see what Moses is saying on that stage. Moses, surprise, surprise, he says Elohim separated the water from dry land. He created a dry land. Elohim called the dry land earth, ground, and the water he called ocean or sea. That's it. Not a word about vegetation, not a word about animal. Just dry land. That's the first time, the first part of day 3, and Elohim made a judgment. Elohim made a judgment, and area was closed. It's still day 3 because it continued to develop life now on a granite island, and it will end up with a catastrophe at the end. Catastrophe marked the end of the stage and the end of a day. But here Elohim just made judgment, and it was the end of the formation of dry land. Again, who told Moses a story that this thing happened in stages like that? Never. Nobody ever conceived of that. Not even much later than Moses. People concoct all kinds of theories about the Bible created or written by priests, the Holy Temple, at the end century. They found a scroll, and a small cult of priests in Jerusalem wrote the Bible. That's what my nephew told me when he came back from the university, High League University. That's what he was told, that the Torah Bible was written by 8th century priests in Jerusalem. I like to know who are those priests who could tell that the second stage of creation was only water and then dry land. Have you ever heard such priests? Did the Greek, the scientific-minded Greek know about it? Did any nation know about it? No. A perfect match between science, knowledge and what Moses is saying. Unbelievable miracle in our hand. Let's continue seeing what the History Channel says about the rest of the day of stage 3, which is seeding life on earth. Where it was seeded, how, where. Here is a scientist comparing the granite light rock from the old heavy rock. So the granite could actually stand the water and form the island. Granite islands are formed around 2.5 billion years ago. Life is settled on Earth. Life is settled on Earth in the form of these algae that you see here, colonies, called stromatolite. And they are the most primordial form of life on Earth. Nobody knows where they came from. Nobody knows how they were made. But the fact is that they are here developing on a shallow slope of the granite island that goes into the sea, on the shallow area where they can absorb sunlight and they still live underwater. They can absorb, they do photosynthesis, and they capture the CO2 from the air, take the C out, the carbon for their own shell, and the O2, they release, the oxygen they release into the atmosphere. So they form photosynthesis and they change the atmosphere. Now those creatures, they are already equipped with RNA and maybe DNA, and they can produce protein, and they have all the information that's needed for the entire evolution. They are the forefather of anything we see on Earth. Any animals, any vegetation or animals that you see are the descendant of this prototype, the most primordial life, stromatolite. They can identify today in a remote shore like in Australia. Here they are. Here the scientists has explained what they are. He is explaining that these are the forefather of all life on Earth. They produce oxygen to the air. The atmosphere turns blue and the ocean turns blue. So we have a supercontinent from granite, bereft of any life, beside the stromatolite living on the shores. For millions of years, they produce enough oxygen. They calculated it. They could produce enough oxygen to create our thin atmosphere with oxygen in it, and also in the water. And they develop into a primordial vegetation. From there came on later on the trees, the shrubs, everything we know is vegetation. That era on Earth is now named the blue globe, and it will end up with a catastrophe, which in the form of the ice settling and killing all the vegetation, all life on the surface, keeping life only in the water. This is what Moses is saying on that part of the third, what he called third day. Remember, the first part was creating the granite island, dry land, what he calls. And then there was a judgment. And Elohim, after making the judgment, he decided to seed life on earth. The word seed appears here in Moses' words 4 times. The seed of life. The word seed of life can relate to the algae, can relate to primordial vegetation, that later on it says he will give us even fruit trees. That perfectly does match what the science is saying. It's not surprise anymore. And Moses described the end of the era. Elohim saw it was good. There was a judgment. As always, when there is a judgment by Elohim, part of it is gone, which is not needed anymore. Here could relate to the surface, vegetation on the surface, but something was good in the eyes of the builder, some life in the water. Day 3 was over. Now, we like to know what happened the next stage with the under the ice. It will be science stage 4, and it will Moses day 4. Do they match? We are at age stage 4. For some reason, we'll talk about it, according to science, age became an ice ball covered by thick layer of ice that killed all the vegetation on Earth, on the surface, but kept life in the ocean under the ice. Now, what caused this ice? Could be the problem with the supercontinent that blocked the ocean warming, the streaming, all kind of current that usually keep the globe warm. Now the supercontinent block it. Could that one explanation? Another explanation that I read from Discovery Channel or other places, that actually what happened is that at that particular point, Earth's axis was established. Before that, it was wobbling, it was not stable. Now the Earth axis was stable enough. At first, it formed an ice, then the ice would melt. But the establishment of the axis allowed the day and night to stay fixed. Very important for the next stage. And the seasons were established. All these apparently simple features are important, extremely important for life in the water, because the vegetation, they say, in the water learn to distinguish between day and night, and they can open up at morning, close up at night, and they learn to rest, which is without each. This is an important feature for a nervous system. A nervous system for a mobile animal that would later develop. Any nervous system need the ability to identify night and day, to rest. Otherwise, the nervous system will fall apart. So that the nucleus for that, the origin of that ability is here under the ice. The vegetation learn to open and close. That's what the scientist says. And they learn to adapt to the seasons. Many other features of the vegetation develop in the water under the ice. All of that will be important, turn to be very important for the next step, which is life in the water. So that ice lasted hundreds of million years. And they call it ice ball or stage 4. Let's see what Moses is saying on that stage. What Moses is saying on stage 4, that the luminaries were seen now in a regular fashion. They were created earlier, but now they are seen regularly, so that the day and night are fixed, seasons are fixed, and what else? No animal, no creatures, no nothing. The whole day 4, is devoted for the luminaries to be seen regularly, and the seasons, the day and night. Perfect match with the ice ball idea that we saw earlier. Again, no surprise to me, to us anymore. Moses fits perfectly well what science is saying. Only a fool cannot see that. So who told him the story? Pharaoh? Pharaoh people told him the story? So here we have stage 1 from science, red planet, can fit day 1 of Moses. The stage 2 water fits day 2 of Moses. Stage 3A, the formation of Granite Island, can fit dry land of day 3. The rest of the third day, the blue planet, remember the stromatolite turned the atmosphere blue, and we have blue atmosphere, blue ocean, and the primordial vegetation, which really fit what Moses is describing there. Day 3. So we have day 1, day 2, day 3. And now we have seen the ice ball of stage 4, underneath which vegetation continued to evolve in the right direction. And that fits perfectly well what Moses is saying about day 4, about the calendar, season, day and night, no new creatures. Oh gosh, who told him that story? So we are moving now to the area where the ice is broken and life starts to evolve on Earth. Where did it evolve? On the surface, on the Greenland? How did life, animal, moving animal, where did they develop first? Let's see what science said, and let's see what Moses is saying.
Planet Earth was almost marine bacteria and algae were trapped beneath in the darkness.
The ice started to break down by explosion underneath the ocean, volcanic eruption that melted the ice above. Here's a picture of that. You see how the globe, the ice is broken away, and very soon, in geological time, very soon the ice will melt and expose the water and the dry land to form life, or to continue form life on it. And life develop in the water. This is the area in Alaska where they found the fossilite, 20 or 30,000 fossilite at least from this particular geological time. In a short time, only a few 100 million years, the ocean that covered the area was exploding with all kind of creatures that are preserved in the fossilite here. Enormous creature, complicated feature developed in the water. The first worms, the first fish, or different sort of swimming animals. The first eye, the first tooth, the first teeth, the first ears, the predator, the ability to hide. The animal kingdom was developed in the water. not on a dry land, in the water. And most of the fossilites were found here. This is where the first rocks were found. This is
will accumulate underneath that blanket. The heat would spell the
again the first creatures, weird creatures developing in the water. Enormous creatures, complicated, that's now gone. Here's some more of that. A complex vegetations and all kind of creatures, predators, that could disguise themselves.
skeletons, eyes, and teeth.
Here is what Moses is saying on day 5, which is correlate to stage 5. Elohim said that the waters shall teem with swarms of living creatures. Then he mentioned flying, which is dry land. Moses started the day with plenty of animals in the water, before there was any life on a dry land. Perfectly matching what science says, because at that time no life could live on the dry land because of the bombardment of UV. Only moving animal could live only in the water. Perfect matching between Moses and science. Let's see, Moses now continued to say that next came flying, bird creatures, then crocodile, amphibian, fish in the water, then life on the dry land, flying bird and other flying creatures. Let's remember the order, and then crocodile, amphibian. Let's see if that's what science says. What the History Channel is showing here, that there was a change in the ozone
400
layer.
million years ago,
It
the
developed at
Earth
this
is more than
particular
4
point
billion years old.
enough to shield
Over the next 100
the
million
Earth
years,
from the
the continents
UV
would once again
of the
converge.
sun, that life could
At
crawl
this
now
time, thanks to the
on the
ozone
water
shield,
on land,
life was free to leave the
vegetation,
oceans
animals.
and conquer the land.
Remember Moses
Planet
says
Earth had
flying
become a world
creature,
of tropical
then
swamps.
amphibian.
30 billion, sternest test ever. Enormous volcanic eruptions preparing to unleash a mass extinction in the planet's entire early reptilians left the seas to take their first steps on the muddy shorelines. The U.S. East Coast, 250 million years ago.
Could fly, could crawl.
For hundreds of millions of
and
years, life on the surface had faced numerous challenges to its
that
survival.
actually is the source of
But
coal
nothing on the
and
scale
oil
of what was
that
about
we
to happen.
dig from the ground. And this is the
In what would one day
area
become
of day
Siberia,
5.
the Earth's crust became
After
a
the life
volcanic
was
morass.
crawling
The
from the
cause
water
was a
on
rare
land.
mantle plume eruption. No one knows for sure why they occur.
The
But
history, the
occasionally,
Discovery
huge
Channel
masses
actually
of
make
hot
the point
mantle from deep within the
that the
Earth
tide
surge upwards,
of water
melting
left
and smashing
fish
the
on the,
crust
on, the,
above.
on the shore.
The
of
eruptions
dry
continued for
land.
over 1 million years.
So that those
They
fish
spewed out over
develop
1
wings
million cubic
to fly
miles
back
of
to the
molten
warm
rock,
water to catch more fish.
enough to bury
Other
the modern
fish.
USA in a
So
layer
Earth
over
was
1,000 feet deep.
was ruled
Clouds
by
of poisonous gases
giant
spread
bird
out and shrouded the entire globe.
hovering over the water to catch giant fish. So fish,
It
bird.
was too much for most
Some of the
species
fish
of life.
invaded inland,
Over 95% were driven to
escaped
extinction.
the bird, and actually developed amphibians that could develop the
It
talent
was the
like
most
crocodile
cataclysmic
to lie
event the
dormant
planet
in
has
water
ever
to
witnessed.
fool the bird and capture the bird. So
The
it tells
planet that
you right
emerged
away
from
there
the
was a
chaos
fish,
was much changed.
bird, and then crocodile to
A
their
new
kind.
supercontinent, the
Not only
great Pangea,
crocodile,
now
but all
dominated.
these creatures that were living in swamps,
And the climate was altering
insects,
dramatically. Over the
giant
next
one,
200
and so
million
on.
years,
Some of the
oxygen and carbon
lizards
dioxide would rise to new
developed
peaks.
at that
And under
period.
these conditions, the animals
They
that had
say they were
survived the
2-story
extinction
high.
were to evolve into the
They
most
could
infamous
fly
creatures
15,000
ever to
miles
walk the
without
earth.
stop. It's the best flying
The
machine ever
dinosaurs.
conceived in nature. And those lizards, the body shaped, was copied by
This gave them
engineering
the
of
advantages of
United
both
States
cold-blooded
Air
lizards and
Force
warm-blooded mammals.
to plan
Dinosaurs were able to
design
be active
Air
and
Force
collect
jet.
food all year long, and yet they could put a great amount
Mind
of the
you.
food that they ate towards growing as opposed
The
to
area which
heat
was
generation.
full of
In
animals,
the sweltering,
creatures,
oxygen-rich
Remember
environment that
first
came to
fish
dominate the dinosaur
and
era.
bird and crocodile, like
An
Moses
environment
said,
triggered by
ending up with a
volcanism.
catastrophe that covered Earth. Somehow, Earth
Split apart the
explosion down
supercontinent.
from below, from
The continental fragments began their
below the
long
surface
journeys into the
came
positions
up
they
bubbles
occupied today.
of methane gas
North America,
exploding
South
for
America,
hundreds of
Africa,
millions of
and
years,
Europe all went their
a
separate
long
ways.
time anyhow, and
Pangean
killed all
supercontinent
the giant
was no more.
animal on the surface, most
Each of the
it.
new continents still carried dinosaurs, and
And
the steamy
they
volcanic
left
climate
only those who
seemed to
could
suit them.
develop
More
into
lush vegetation,
more
a lot more
sophisticated
food for dinosaurs,
creature
which
on
allowed
the
them
next
not only
six
to specialize and
stages.
evolve to specialize on different types of
This
plant
is
materials,
stage
but allowed them to
5,
get
ending with a
extremely
catastrophe.
large.
Let's see what Moses is saying.
Many scientists
As you can guess now, Moses is
lived in a
completely
sweltering world defined by overactive
concurring with
volcanism.
what science saying. He mentioned
And
the
before
water,
it was
the
finished,
flying
this volcanism would bring to
creatures,
the surface
the crocodile,
some of
and
the
then was
planet's
the
most wondrous
red,
riches.
the judgment at the end of the day.
Diamonds.
Elohim said it was good. Some of it was good.
This is a
It
typical
could live to the next day.
eight-sided crystal called an
Others
octahedron.
were eliminated.
Uncut, it
There
is
were no
worth
more
$2,000
needed.
a carat. As a cut
Moses'
stone,
account
it would probably sell for
perfectly
$80,000.
For thousands of
match-
years,
matches
65
what
million years ago,
scientists say. No surprise
the
anymore.
planet was lush.
Let's see
Vegetation
what
was
science
thick on
says.
the surface.
On day 6, on
Living
stage
things
6,
were
where we
prospering
live
like
now,
never before.
Go, and then instantaneously,
I'm not so sure
Had been
if
hit by
you
an
heard me
enormous
earlier
meteor.
what I said when I
Their
compared
theory
them.
remained controversial for
What
over 10
Moses is
years
saying, it
until
does
the final
perfectly
piece of the
match
puzzle
what
was discovered in Mexico.
Science is saying,
A hidden
Moses
crater
mentioned
over
the catastrophe,
100 miles
judgment at
across.
the end of the
In
day 5,
1990, the Chicxulub impact crater was
which
discovered, and its
can
age,
fit
when finally
the
dated, turned out to be
catastrophe
precisely
of
65 million years
Earth.
old. It turned out to be, it was, the smoking gun
Most
for all
of the
alchemist
animals
theory.
were eliminated.
Worldwide, the
Only those
tombstone
who were
layer
able to
contains an
continue
estimated
daily
200,000
life.
tons
Now
of
we are moving
iridium.
to
This translates to a meteor
Science stage
over 6
6.
miles in diameter.
and
Its
compare it
impact
to
on the
Moses'
planet
day 6.
would have been devastating.
This
For the
is
first
a
mammals,
picture of the
our ancestors,
enormous
beginning
explosion
to flourish.
all over the world that
Long
ended up
before
stage
humans
5.
arrived, the continents, but
Earth
occasionally
was covered
huge
with
masses
lava.
of hot man.
Animals that will survive the catastrophe enter a new world. The continent condensed to form the famous Pangea continent. The movies that you see, usually this area is about the Pangea. I think United States and Canada and the South America were part of Pangea. A huge creature evolved because of constant volcanic activity that's put up so much material and warmth into the atmosphere that promoted vegetation and promoted giant creature, fat cattle-like creature that fed on leaves, followed by predator who could, like dinosaur, were fed on a cattle, and some other creature we'll see in a minute. That's stage 6 where we live, because mankind is born on the rest of second part of stage 6 or day 6. Let's see what Moses described as our day, our area is dawning, is coming. Moses says that as a day 6 dawned, Elohim made the cattle-like. Oh, that cattle-like, the fat creature, then followed by beast and creeping creature. We'll see what kind of creeping creature is here. And for years I wonder, what are the creeping creatures doing here? Turn out there are giant snakes that evolve along with these dinosaurs beasts. A picture of those snakes were actually shown on a Time magazine. Turn out that they became so big that crawled around and ate everything. Actually, they survived the catastrophe that killed the dinosaurs. So Moses is so right. Cattle, creeping, the snakes, and beasts, the dinosaurs. He's absolutely right. And then in the middle of the day, when the day was not over yet, Elohim made a judgment, and it was said it was good. We know if it was a judgment. Some of the creature he eliminated, and some he left to survive. He eliminated the dinosaurs and allowed mammals to grow. Let's see what science is saying. Again, I'm not so sure if I recorded, so I'm going to repeat what Moses is saying, that cattle-like, then beast-like, beasts, the dinosaurs. Then he mentioned creeping creature. And for years I didn't know what the creeping creatures are there doing in Moses' list. And then we found out that there was huge snakes, so big that two greyhound bus could fit into the skeleton of a junior snake, as was shown on Time magazine just a few years ago. So Moses was right. Cattle-like, snake, huge snake, and dinosaurs, beast. And they were eliminated by judgment, he says, in the middle of the day, which eliminated creatures that were not no more needed and allow mammals to continue to evolve into us. So that's what Moses is saying, and let's see what science says. On Pangea, all these fat animals roam the land, fed by enormous vegetation, which caused by volcanic activity. Volcanoes were found everywhere around the globe, and they caused this enormous growth of the animals. On Pangea, stage 6, which fits Moses' day 6. Cattle-like, followed by beasts that fed on the cattle, and somehow snakes grew up, enormous snakes that also crawl around and ate everything. And Moses mentioned the 3 of them. Here are the leaf eaters. This is a bone of a dinosaur. All this beauty was terminated by a giant meteor that fell on the Gulf of Mexico, caused devastation around the globe. It caused an enormous explosion here on the Gulf of Mexico. terminating everything on Pangea, but leaving other creatures to evolve, like mammals. So here, History Channel end up telling us that after the destruction of the dinosaurs, the conditions were suitable for smaller animals like mammals to grow, to proliferate. And those mammals evolved into Homo sapiens. What Moses is saying that after the midday judgment, when Elohim said it was good in the middle of the sixth day, he eliminated many of the old, and he said it was good, so he allowed other animals to proliferate, among them mammals, and among the mammals, he said, let us make man, Adam. So it's a process. A process was done after the judgment of the middle of the sixth day. A process was done to evolve, to bring Adam on earth. Adam will evolve on earth after that. Now, if you sum up, there's a perfect match between what Moses is saying to what science is saying. If I summarize the stages, here they are: the red planet, day 1, the water world of day 2, the granite of dry land, the blue planet, the rest of the day 3, where atmosphere turned blue because of stromalite. Moses says that life was seeded on Earth. Then the ice ball of day 4, which stabilizes Earth, establishes season, exactly like Moses says on day 4. Then the stage 5 with the green planet, the swamps, the huge trees, that huge forests that give us now the coal and the oil. Those forests, this enormous forest, also was accompanied by giant bird, by crocodile, by amphibian life on the swamps. As Moses says, day 5, ending up with judgment, catastrophe, most of the animals eliminated, but those who were able to contribute to the day 6, continue to live. Science says, first on day 6, Pangea, the cattle-like, the dinosaurs, even the snakes. Moses concurs with every word, and he says, let us make Adam for the final judgment. Now, what we can take with this story, not only that Moses is compatible with science, but the truthfulness of his revelation. If he is so accurate, so true, so what he's telling us is the truth. So we have here a confirmation that we can validate that the Torah is true. If Moses tells us the true story at the beginning, so the rest of it is also true. And the message that he's giving us is also true. And what is the message? That Adam is born to become very good. Not just good as all the other animals, but to elevate himself to become very good by following the Torah, improving himself morally, and winning the final judgment of the 6th day so he can turn to the Sabbath. Since the first part of chapter 1 is so true, the rest of it is also true. The idea that we are here born into the courtroom by the heavenly court that judges every day, every second. And we are going to be judged to see if we are eligible to see the next day or not. That part of the story is also true. If the first part is true, then the second part is true. As it turned out, if Maimonides says that if it's important, there's a commandment to validate the existence of God and the truthfulness of the Torah. Why it's a commandment? Because the presence of God is concealed from us. Had he been seen to everyone, there wouldn't be any judgment. Nobody would have seen. But to make our judgment, the trial real, he had to conceal himself. He let us make the choice. So Maimonides is saying, well, you cannot see God, you cannot confirm God by seeing it or by touching him. God, of course not. But you can validate him by learning Torah to see how smart, how beautiful, how deep the Torah is, how truthful it is. And he also says, by learning science. He was a physician. He knew what he's talking. He says from watching nature, you can also derive the truthfulness of God. That's exactly what we have done. In chapter 1 is the only place where science or nature meets the Torah. And since the story about nature is so true,
Swinson Doctor Pulmonary.
Since the first story of science is so true, then the Torah is true. So we have validated both. Think about it, and we'll talk about these issues time and again. Again, I advise you to watch the History Channel by yourself. You get much more detailed information. Just open the Bible, read it, and you will see how perfectly it does match, the two-story match. Take care. Thank you for being with me.